Today we're going to talk about the theory of production, which is going to be chapter 5, section 2. And the essential question here is, how do companies figure out the right amount of production of inputs to maximize a profit? But we're going to also do a little bit of review from section 5.1. The quantity supplied, remember, is any kind of amount that's given, that's produced by the producers for the market at any given price. So remember, they want to make a profit. And they don't consider what's sitting in their warehouse, which is a surplus, nor if they're not producing enough to meet the demand. An example for you is if the market price for chia pets falls, the producer may offer less for sale or even leave the chia pet market completely, which would be really kind of terrible and sad because chia pets are so cute. I had them in college, actually. They were easy plants to grow on your windowsill. If the price rises, the producer may offer more chia pets for sale to help take advantage of a better price. So sudden rushing out to get chia pets for college is not a bad idea. Low maintenance, easy to take care of, and comes in cute, fun, decorative planters. Change in supply, a situation where suppliers will offer different amounts of products for sale at all of the possible prices in the market. And this is the one where the line actually shifts left or right. And then there's a bunch of reasons why they either increase or decrease. Remember, cost of inputs, productivity, technology, taxes and subsidies, expectations, government regulations, and how many people enter the market to become sellers. In general, changes that lower the total cost of production or improve productivity will allow the seller to produce more goods or services at each and every price in the market, which means it's going to shift to the right because it's an increase, and if we were seeing a decrease, then it would be shifting to the left. And that's exactly what this one is. The opposite occurs when production costs increase or productivity goes down. And our favorite friend, elasticity. So remember, elasticity is that small increase in price leads to a large increase in output and supply. And inelastic is a small increase in price leads to very little change. It's not going to be very flexible. It doesn't change much. Supply is unit elastic when a change in price causes a proportional change in supply. And then the determinants is how quickly producers can react to a change in price. If adjusting production can be done quickly, the supply will be elastic. And if production is complex and requires more advanced planning, is inelastic. Only production is what's used for this, nothing else. So chapter 5.2 is the theory of production. Producing an economic good or service requires the combination of land, labor, and capital. So we're kind of going back to those big four ideas. But here we're taking out entrepreneurship and its actual production of those things. The theory of production deals with the relationship between the factors of production and the output of goods and services. Law of variable proportions is the definition is this. In the short run, output will change as one variable input is altered, but other inputs are kept constant. So if we go back to the ice cream analogy, vanilla suddenly becomes more expensive. I'm going to switch from using vanilla to vanilla extract, imitation style. That might be cheaper, then that's going to have a small effect. Now, if I were to completely throw out all my ingredients and start all over again, that's going to be a different thing. So for the law of variable proportions, we're only talking about changing one of those inputs. The law of variable proportions looks at how the final product is affected as more units of one variable input or resource are added to a fixed amount of other resources. It's easier for us as economists to look just at one variable at a time. If you start looking at multiple variables, it gets confusing. Multitasking, we're not really actually built for that. If we start trying to figure out the effects of changing several inputs at the same time, our results will be impossible. It's kind of like in science where you have to eliminate one thing at a time to find out if you're processing a problem correctly or not, or if you want to test a hypothesis. You can't look at a bunch of changing variables. It won't work very well. So, production function looks sort of like this. It describes the relationship between changes in output to different amounts of a single input while others are held constant. So, remember, if I'm going to change my real vanilla to imitation vanilla extract, that's the thing that we could be looking at. It means that we analyze the law of variable proportions using a chart or a graph. So, this is something that kind of gives you that idea of what it could look like. Knowledge and managerial skills could go into technology, and that's what they're going to look at, and that might have an effect on production function. And then how does that affect your output? We're not looking at physical capital, labor, or raw materials. We're only going to be looking at how technology would change that. Total production is this. So the total product is the total output the company produces. So if I'm an ice cream manufacturer, we're going to look at how much ice cream I'm producing with the ingredients on hand. Marginal product is the extra output or change in total product caused by adding one more unit of variable input. The best way to help you understand this concept and to help illustrate it, because it's kind of confusing, think about when you work on projects as a group in class. How many students make up a productive team? Is it two, three, four? Usually, most groups are about four people. Typically, it's about the average. But what happens when you add a fifth person or a sixth person or even a seventh person to your team? What will happen to your project? Is it going to get better? Or probably not. It's probably going to get worse because now you have too many people. So there are three stages of production. Stage one is increasing returns. We are doing better and better with each worker added. So originally there was just you, and then you add a partner, and things got a little bit easier and better. And then you added a third person, and finally a fourth person. And you're like, okay, yeah, we're doing good. I like it. So now you're in the stage two area. Stage two is the diminishing returns. We are doing better and better with each worker added, but the gains are starting to get smaller. So now you've added that fourth person, you go to the fifth person, and you're starting to come over here to the top. You're starting to peak, where you're going to start to slow down and go into the stage three. And stage three is negative returns. And this is where all the workers are making a mess. You finally have added too many people to your group, and your group has turned into a complete disaster, and you're all stressed out and hating one another, and you vow never to work with one another again. Those are the three stages of production. So remember, stage one, things are doing good. You're adding more people, things are still productive, life is good. Stage two, diminishing returns. You're doing pretty good, and you add like the next worker, that fourth or fifth group member, and then you start turning into stage three, which is negative returns. It starts to negatively affect you and impact you, and your project falls apart and you fail.